Hey everybody, welcome to your first official lecture video of spring 2016. It is finally not snowing anymore. I don't know about you guys, but I literally spent my entire day today just digging my way out of my home. I had like 4 feet of snow in front of my door all the way out to my car, and then my car was just completely covered in snow. So it's been pretty crazy. Hopefully you guys are all safe and sound and everybody is ready to start. Unfortunately, we really don't get that excuse like, oh, I can't go to class because it's snowing. So sorry, it is what it is. But so tonight, what I'm going to do is go ahead and start talking to you guys about why you are even taking this class. Why is this class important? If you ask me, it is probably one of the more important classes that you can take, whether you're going into psychology, any of the mental health fields, social work, definitely nursing, definitely criminal justice. And honestly, even just in general, I think a lot of people will probably come to find by the end of this course that you may know individuals that you will learn something about from this course that you then will kind of have an aha moment and go, oh, okay, I kind of understand this person a little more, whether it's a family member, a friend, a significant other, because personality issues and personality disorders, which is what we really are focusing on in this class, like anything in psychology, we're typically going to be looking at something as it pertains to a disorder. So yes, we're going to be talking about the psychology, what is the personality and all of that. But what I'm mostly going to be bringing to you guys in these videos is talking about the personality disorders because they are so prevalent, and I promise you, you will be encountering people that suffer from these disorders. And in many cases, you will be working with them to help them sort of improve, to change. And I want you guys at the minimum to have at least an understanding. I mean, I certainly don't expect that by the end of this course you're going to know everything and, be able to cure someone of a personality disorder. That's not realistic. But I definitely want you to have a good working knowledge of it because it is just so widespread and prevalent that it is necessary for you guys to understand what is this, what does it look like, how does it come about, to have some ideas of how we do treat it out in the field, and just to have that sort of empathy piece where when you encounter somebody that has a personality disorder, you're able to say, oh, okay, this is what she was talking about, and have a little bit more insight and maybe even a little bit more empathy, because as you will hear from me many times in many videos to come, individuals with personality disorders can be some of the most challenging and honestly the most frustrating individuals that we come across as clinicians. I say that because I am a clinician, but as, individuals, as a teacher, as a prison guard, as a nurse, as whoever. So the video that I wanted you guys to watch before watching this lecture, I know, it's very cheesy, it's very old school, and I came across it just in such a random way, but I felt like, yes, this is exactly what I want them to understand. So one part that I liked early in the beginning of the video, the bald guy on the phone, he's got like a suit and tie or whatever, and he's saying, oh, well, I wanted to hire him for the job, but, it's just his personality. This is the difficulty. This is just one perfect example of something that an individual with a personality disorder experiences throughout their lifetime. Our personality really is how we affect other people. It sort of results in an effect on other people, and it also has very much to do with the way that we see ourselves and the way that we see the world. So if you're someone who hates yourself, truly hates yourself, and really has very negative opinions and outlook on the world, how do you think you're going to come across to other people? How do you think you're going to make them feel when they're interacting with you? Okay, that was what I was kind of trying to show you from that other video. And that is the life experience of an individual that suffers from a personality disorder. They tend to be very different in the way that they perceive other people. And what I mean by that is there are just certain situations that we all sort of know, you don't do this or you do this. So somebody with a personality disorder just sort of doesn't understand those kind of unspoken rules that we have about what we do and don't do, what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate, typically because they are so intensely emotional or so completely unemotional that their behaviors, their reactions to people are very strange and very different. And many times they're very off-putting to someone. And so what they get back from the world in return is a very negative sort of experience. And it's a really difficult way for these individuals to live, because it then serves as proof to them, oh, I am a terrible person. The world is this ugly place. And they don't understand that the reason they're getting that from people is because of what they are giving out. Okay, so that is the connection that they unfortunately are unable to make, is that I'm coming across to people in a way that isn't good, and that's why I'm getting negativity back from them. They just sort of internalize that it's them and the world is just this horrible place, and so are they. So that's something that I do try to keep in mind, because personally I deal with a lot of personality disordered individuals in my job in the emergency room. The main reason that I typically do encounter individuals with personality disorders is because many, many times they tend to be in crisis. And the emergency room, of course, is the place that you would go when you are in crisis. Now, in this course, you're going to hear me mostly referring to and talking about a certain group of personality disorders called Cluster B. B as in boy. There are 3 clusters of personality disorders. There are Cluster A, there are Cluster B, and there are Cluster C. Now, I will tell you the way that it sort of breaks down out there in the world. Just take the 2.5 years that I've been at the emergency room that I currently work at. I can recall one case of true personality type A individual. I can think of 1, possibly 2 that were a true cluster C, but I can think of hundreds, literally hundreds of cluster B personality disordered individuals that I've worked with, and who I do work with on a fairly constant basis, because I do see people, particularly people who are personality disordered, multiple times. I will see them every so often. So by far, that is the more prevalent group of personality disorders, and that's what we're mainly going to be focusing on. But of course, I do want you to understand a little bit about all of them. Cluster B contains borderline personality disorder, which is by far the one that I encounter the most, and that you will probably encounter out in the fields that I already discussed. Except for criminal justice. Criminal justice will encounter a lot of antisocial personality disorder. That is also in cluster B. Also in cluster B is your histrionic personality disorder, and then your narcissistic, sorry, I got lost there for a sec. Your narcissistic personality disorder, which I do encounter from time to time, and actually personally as a therapist is my most difficult group of individuals to work with, just because of my own sort of stuff, which we're going to be talking about that whole thing later on, that certain individuals are more challenging or easier for you to work with depending on certain aspects of yourself. So even as an individual working with someone with a personality disorder, you have to be very aware of yourself and your own personality issues, because it will sort of affect the relationship between you and the person that you're working with. So cluster B, like I said, we're going to be focusing on the most, probably out of anything. Just to give you guys a little bit of an example of what I would be talking about when I talk about somebody with, let's say, borderline personality disorder. Why would I be encountering somebody like this? Well, some of the main features of borderline personality disorder are that the individual has very strong emotions. Typically, they're coming from a background with a lot of trauma, and they really have a difficult time with boundaries. Okay, boundaries are those sort of natural divisions between people. So we all sort of have that unspoken, unwritten kind of idea that, I don't expect any of you guys are going to be calling my phone at, let's say, 3 o'clock in the morning because you're panicked about an assignment. Okay, that might be something that an individual with borderline personality disorder might do. They might just not sort of understand that, I probably shouldn't call the professor's cell phone at 3 o'clock in the morning. Typically, you'll find them sort of what we call help rejecting, when they may need something from an individual, but rather than approach them in an appropriate way, they'll do it in a way that is demanding or in a way that is attacking of the individual that they need help from. I see this all the time in the emergency room. Somebody needs something from me. I truly am the one that can give it to them, and yet they will be cursing at me, putting me down, telling me to go away. You do see that type of thing a lot. Borderline personality disorder is characterized by frequent suicide attempts. Many times the suicide attempts are very superficial in nature, just enough to get them into the hospital, but not necessarily enough to kill them. Sometimes they do definitely have a more serious suicide attempt, but tends to be a lot more what we call self-injury, where they're doing it to sort of hurt themselves, but not enough to really, really die. And there also tends to be a lot of manipulation. We definitely deal with a lot of what we call game playing behavior, where an individual will sort of set you up in a position that is very, very difficult. So let's say somebody comes into the emergency room and I'm meeting with them and they say, I just can't take it anymore. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to go home. I have all these pills. I know I'm going to take them. And so I say, okay, well, let's get you into the hospital. Obviously, you're not safe. And then the next time I come back in the room, they are demanding to leave and say, no, I didn't really mean that. I just made all that up. I really just want to go home. But I really am not sure that I'm going to be safe. But I need to get home. I really need to go home right now. So obviously, 5 minutes ago they told me they were going to kill themselves. Now they're telling me they're not, but they're not really telling me they're not. They're kind of saying, well, I don't know, but I'll probably be fine. This is what we call game playing behavior. So all of these traits, I'm just kind of throwing out to you guys little examples. These are all traits that, because we work with them so often, we can sort of identify, oh, okay, this is probably an individual that has this type of problem. And I'm hoping that by the end of the course, you guys have enough sort of information and insight that you, at the minimum, will sort of start to be able to identify, like I was saying, oh, okay, this is this or that is that. So wrapping it all up for you guys, normally when we're talking about personality and I'm describing it to people, I say personality is a combination of your traits and your behaviors. And that definitely is a definition that I don't want to just throw away. I don't want to discard it because I think it is important. Our traits are the things about us. Our behaviors are obviously the things that we do and the way that we behave. But I do want you guys to keep in mind from that other video that our personality is very much defined by the way that other people perceive us and the way that we perceive other people. All right. I hope this was entertaining, definitely, but at least a little bit educational and not super confusing. See you guys in the next video. Bye.